the Eros Revolution podcast. I am your host, Leah, and today I am joined by Eli Block and Aubrey Fuller. Every Monday and Thursday, we discuss the latest cultural trends and topics through the lens of Eros. I'm very excited to introduce you to two longtime practitioners of Eros and orgasmic meditation. Between the two of them, they have over a combined 30 years of orgasmic meditation practice and day-to-day living the life immersion in erotic philosophy. So while they do a great talk and they talk a great talk, they also really do walk their walk too, which you'll be seeing in just a moment. We'll be talking about some really hot topics. I'm sure questions will come up that you will have. Please feel free to, as you think of them, put them in the chat or in the comments. We may address them live or we may collect them at the end to inspire the topics for our next podcasts. All right, so our first topic is about a woman diagnosed with terminal cancer. And what she decided to do with this diagnosis was divorce her husband and sleep with 200 men. So give me one moment and I will show you this article. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right, Eli and Aubrey, I know this story and I find it personally inspiring. And I am so excited to hear your perspective through the lens of Eros and really bring kind of flesh out all of what's going on here because I feel like there's probably a lot. So
There's probably a lot.
how bad?
Thank you, Leah.
Yeah.
If you want to put the link to that in the chat and then the link, go ahead and put the link to the other one that you sent me to, the one that I had you screen share this one instead, but
Okay.
put both of them in there. And then I'm just going to read a quote from the other one really quick.
Okay.
But when Koken, the woman, found out her expiration date was imminent, something snapped. She pursued sex and human connection with reckless abandon, and sometimes just recklessly. Whenever my health scare escalated, so did my sexual adventures. It was a way to trump the distraction, she writes. She's really cool too. She wrote a whole memoir about it that you guys can check out. And yeah, she looking, I guess there was a movie about this too. But looking her up, I was like, this chick's awesome. But my main initial thought on reading this was like, like, what do you got to do to be accepted as a sexual woman? Like, okay, you're dying, so it's okay. And it's like, we'll overlook this one. We're not going to slam you like Bonnie Blue or something like that because you're dying. So, we'll let this one go.
We don't have to worry about you for a while.
We're not gonna, we're only have to worry about you for a little bit.
Right.
It's like, it's so intense. But but I think it's like the thing to really zero in on with it is what would presumably, when you find out you're dying and that you have a certain amount of days left, it might be, a month or 6 months or a few years or something like that. I I can only imagine, because I haven't had that experience, but I would imagine that you pretty quickly begin to deeply consider what you want to do with your remaining time and what would feel most alive, most meaningful to you, and what would have you feel like most intimate with life itself before you have to let it go. And And so in that consideration, this was like what lit her up. This was the thing she wanted to do, and it points to maybe something that she had always wanted to do, and then felt permission because, well, fuck it. I'm dying anyway, I'm gonna actually pursue this desire that I've had anyway. And so there's a, release of the brakes that people have on this pursuit of connection and erotic intimacy, that she took the brakes off because she felt like she could give herself permission to do that because of the circumstances.
Mm.
And so I'm going to pose the really obvious question that's kind of a rhetorical question, which is, why don't we just do that all the time anyway? Like what holds us back from going for our desires anyway? And I guess it's because she literally didn't have to live with the consequences. Like, she had to live with the consequences of each experience, the whatever came with each experience. But I was reading, some bits from her memoir, and you could feel that really erotic thing alive in her, where every experience was, whether it was weird or difficult or with someone very strange, or it was around this fetish or this kink, or it was just like vanilla or whatever it was, every single experience she had, you could feel her, like, the relish that she took in it. And that's I think what is so wonderful about an erotic approach to sex. Because I said this on a couple of talks that I did recently on sexuality, on bringing the erotic principles into sexuality. Some of you were on those, but you can bring the erotic principles into anything in your life, and bringing them into sex can look like this, where every part of the experience is really rich and full of life, and you're like taking a bite out of just intimacy with life, whether it's weird, strange, difficult, amazing. I'm in love with this person now. I don't like them anymore. Who was I in that moment? I've never met that part of myself, like, oh, never doing that again. Oh, I want to do that every day for the rest of my life. Like, all of these different things come out, and that's what bringing erotic principles into sex looks like. So yeah, this was my flurry of thoughts on this one. I loved hearing about this story and reading about this woman.
Mm. Mm. Thanks. I agree with all of that. I think when I saw it, the first thing that went into my brain was, again, this notion of what's an appropriate identity, kind of like what you were pointing to. And I actually thought of this in terms of retirement. Like, this is another thing people do, is like they live a certain life and then they like retire. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people who are like at retirement age who are like, now I'm going to live for me. Like, my kids are out of the house. Like, I'm old enough that I don't care what anyone lives, cares about me or whatever, like, or cares, what I do anymore, like, what they think of me. And I'm just going to do what I want to do. Like, it's really that simple. And I think there is something about the deathbed as well. Like, there's all those articles that talk about on people's deathbeds. What do they say? They wish they'd spent more quality time with people and had more intimacy and less work. And I think when you talk about erotic principles, what that makes me think of is, we have this production-based mindset. We have this mindset that we don't realize how deeply it runs our lives, and um, how sandbagged it is for so many of us. And you discover this really quickly when you start a practice like Om. Orgasmic meditation is going to bring that right to the front. Really, any meditation practice, quite honestly. But anything where you're sort of sitting still and there's nothing you're kind of supposed to do the best version of nothing as you possibly can, and just put your attention on your breath, or on, a clitoris or your finger, or like the arousal you feel. And it is remarkably difficult to find the time to do that, even if you know that you have the time to do that. There's 1,000 things which comes up before you do it, and then there's not enough time for it, or only you do it the very last second, right before you do all the other things, take out the trash, clean the gutters on the roof, water the plants, feed the cat, pick up the kids, and then you have like, whoo, I got like 4 minutes for meditation, Yahoo, and like you really savor it. But like that's not a that's not a scheduling issue. That's a deserving issue. That's an identity issue where this identity can't accept that. And so, okay, all of a sudden, this woman's handed her identity death, her full death, and it's like, okay, well, what's the most honest thing that I could be doing right now that I would want to do? And yeah, I can't tell you, Aubrey and I have been doing this work for about, 17 years each, somewhere around there. And it's just it's a pretty constant stream of people who walk through the doors that we stand by who say some version of I died, whether it was a divorce or a realization. There's about 1,000 things that can cause a death of sorts. And then they're like, well, what's important to me? Well, having that kind of deep human connection, intimacy, exploration, like it's not the rest of this stuff. It's that. And yeah, and my heart goes out to her to some extent, like because you could feel actually how tortured she was about it, and she's like, "This is the choice that I'm making." It's like one of the quotes in the article felt like a little like I'm I'm worried about admitting this, but I'm going to admit it, So, but she did it, and so I'm proud of her.
The last thing I'll say on this one is I was getting acupuncture the other day with this kind of, magical acupuncture dude in Queens. He's like a Tibetan Buddhist Lama, and he does acupuncture, and he's amazing. And he's literally sticking the needles. I've had this jaw thing, and he's sticking the needles in all of these places, and these sensory experiences I've literally never had. I'm like, wow, that's what that feels like. And he's talking to me about how I'm crying, releasing some stuff, and he just starts talking about how something that I know very well from being in this line of work for a long time. But it was a good reminder. And it was like, he's like, Puritan culture is, it just enslaves everybody. And I was like, oh, right. Because it cuts you off from Eros, it cuts you off from sexuality, it cuts you off from the erotic. And Puritan culture, shows up in myriad ways and things. But yeah, it and this article both had me thinking lately about what it would be like if we just had a lot of sex with a lot of people and took the brakes off and really let ourselves do that, or had the kind of sex you want to have with the person or people you want to have it with, or whatever it is that's taking the brakes off for you, like I don't think
Right.
it looks the same for everybody, but I do think like just cutting off from sexuality is straight up cutting off from power, and then we're a milk toast, powerless, to messed culture.
Agreed. Aubrey, I want to ask you something about this.
Okay.
See, I think so. I'm starting to find that I love a lot of these stories, and then I like kind of putting Aubrey on the spot to like answer for women.
I'm my best on the spot.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to think of how to formulate this question, but it's sort of like, see, the way I think, I want your thoughts on this. The way I've observed it is sort of like women have like almost like graduated levels of themselves that they'll be with like a layer of judgment no longer present either within themselves or in the environment. And like you'll get like 25% more of her like she'll admit 25% more desire if this person's not around, or she'll admit 10% more if this
Uh-huh.
condition isn't met or whatever.
Right.
And like, can you say what do you think drives, like, just say a little something about that? Like, education for men and kind of like just explaining a little bit about how you see that one, right? Because this woman just kind of had the whole thing blown off.
Right.
Well, or maybe there was more in there. Like maybe this was on some level, we have to accept the possibility that this was actually potentially uh, a short order for her.
She clearly had a lot of appetite.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So like, say some. What strikes you about that?
Um, I mean, I think it's also interesting that well, because it started with a divorce too, you know.
Yep.
She was married and it was unsatisfying to her in some way. And so she first divorced her husband and then went and had sex with 200 people. Um,
Right. That's actually very like kind of rational and regimented. Like I'm gonna
well,
handle.
yeah, there might have been some overlap. Like I imagine, you know, a divorce takes some time. If I were her, I would have been fucking other people during the divorce as
Right,
well,
right,
personally. But I don't know what her, you know, like
right,
value system is like. That might have been outside of her moral code. I don't know. But probably not. I mean, how long did she have? You know, like you gotta get on that, right?
right.
Like all of a sudden you're like, I am a woman willing to respond to the speed and depth of my hunger. Like, and that is something like as the article put it, an expiration date on your life is enough pressure maybe
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
and creating enough pressure and urgency for a woman to be like, okay,
yeah.
I'll admit it, I'm so hungry. And I think that's also kind of my answer to your thing. It's there's just like there's such a depth of hunger in women that we keep shoved down so deeply, and there's very little that other people or men can do to unlock that. You know, like we will try to convince our boyfriend or whoever forever that
Mm,
it's somehow on them to unlock it, but it doesn't, there's very little that anyone else can do to unlock it. Like I think for where it's at and for where the culture's at and for how we're conditioned at this point and the road that we've sort of collectively chosen, it takes desperation of some kind. Like you
mm,
have to hit a bottom of some kind with the way that you're doing things
mhm,
and make some sort of admission, like you touch into the hunger and realize the depth of it, and then make
mm.
you know, some kind of admission from desperation, like I can't live the way that I was before with pretending to be on the surface of this volcano.
Right.
I have to get more honest about what's happening underneath here, and that can look a lot of different ways. But when there's so much tumescence, I mean, this goes to like orgasmic meditation stuff too. Like when there's so much tumescence in someone's body, it usually does take some pressure
Mm,
initially
mm, mm,
to kind of
mm.
crack through it, and so life will sometimes bring that if we're lucky. And in the moment it's happening, we are like, this is very unlucky, this is terrible.
Right,
But like,
right.
actually, maybe it's lucky, you know?
Oh, that's nice, Aubrey, because you just also gave me some compassion for people who really don't like downstrokes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yes. On all
Thanks.
the levels.
Well, that was great. I loved so many aspects of that. And it ties really well into our next topic, which is about the women in Hollywood who do not hide that they have a sexual nature and that they're often labeled on social media as
Oh,
nympho.
oh, oh, let's just play the video. I'll do the
The
punchline.
Okay.
wanton women.
Sorry. Okay, one
Leah's
moment.
coming. Leah's the third host.
I know. Sorry about that.
That's
Here we
appetite.
go.
Actresses who reportedly struggle with extreme nymphomania. Number 3, Lindsay Lohan. Over the years, several of Lindsay's ex-boyfriends have commented on her impulsive and uncontrollable behavior, including her life. One of them, Callum Best, hinted in interviews that Lindsay could have an unstoppable sexual appetite during her most chaotic periods, although this was never clinically confirmed. Number 2, Angelina Jolie. Before settling into her more stable role as a mother and activist, Angelina had a wild youth. Her ex-husband, Billy Bob Thornton, once claimed she had a energy that left him exhausted and that she was more intense than anyone could handle. Angelina herself admitted in interviews that she went through phases of sex addiction. Number one, Britney Spears. During her relationship with Kevin Federline and others, leaked statements suggested she had a constant need for intimacy. Some linked it to emotional imbalances and the ups and downs in her mental health. In her memoir, Britney even suggests that in her youth, she used sex as a form of escape.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So okay. So, oh my God, that's perfect. Where do you even start? I mean, we'll talk about this for a second. I mean, headline, uh, like basically the headline of this could be like, can you believe women have sex? And not only do they have sex, they want it more than the men that they're with, right? And it's like, it like her have commented on her impulsive and uncontrollable behavior for Lindsay Lohan. Okay, great. Include like, and what are ex-boyfriends ever going to say about a woman other than her impulsive and uncontrollable behavior? Yeah, let's interview you on all of her controllable behavior, and hear about how that was. Okay, so you're in a relationship with a woman. Okay, that's what we've established. Impulsive and uncontrollable. Okay, so she has an appetite, all right, and she's under the hot lights of the American public, where she's basically got to do this thing. She basically has to appear like a very uh like uh like a sexual object, and but not one that actually has any sex. Go, right? Okay. Uh, One of them, they named this poor dude Callum Best, he had to hinted in interviews that Lindsay could have an unstoppable sexual appetite during her most chaotic periods. Okay, Earth to Callum Best and everyone else in this Instagram. Okay, well, sorry. Although this was not never clinically confirmed, you don't need to clinically confirm that women in the presence of a man who is sort of the acceptable form of, receptacle of all of that desire. So it's like you have to imagine women are walking around with the gates of their sexuality like firmly shut, and then behind these gates is this like gnawing animal that's like clawing the back of this gate. And then she meets Callum Best, and then all of a sudden, this gate can finally open, and she's not afraid of being burned at the stake for being a sexual woman. What is going to happen? Okay, but not only that, then she has to uh, contend with his judgments of her as a really sexual woman. Right? So the cultural barrier is removed. She is now authorized to have sex with a man. Okay, they are in a relationship. They do, but then she has to deal with all of his stuff around how much she wants. This is every relationship that has ever been. This is not unique to Lindsay Lohan or Callum Best or anything. Okay, Angelina Jolie. This one, Aubrey, I saw you cackle here a little bit. Settling into before she was a good person, before settling into her more stable role as a mother and activist. Deep breath. Angelina had a wild youth. Her ex-husband, Billy Bob Thornton, once claimed she had a sexual energy that left him exhausted. Yeah, you know why? Because, well, nothing on Billy Bob Thornton, but it's like uh, men typically climax really easily, and then you can only do that so many times in a day before you are depleted. So if you're going to tangle with an Angelina Jolie, or really any Jolie, you're going to need to learn a different way, right? Or anyways, there's got a bazillion different directions to go here, but this is sort of like, I mean, let's be honest, Aubrey, like this is like let's take everything natural about women, stigmatize it, and then pretend like it's a secret.
Yeah, totally.
Like this is just the strangest thing, right? Uh, the last one here. Brittany even suggests that in her youth, she used sex as a form of escape. Okay, dear everybody, women, all of us, but women have a center of vigilance that is on all the time. Can you imagine being a child star? Everyone wanting a piece of you, pictures, manipulate, just everyone always relating to the moneymaker, right? And then the moneymaker or the sex object, which is Britney's karma to handle, no doubt. And at the same time, uh, there's this thing that clears your mind, that everyone knows clears your mind, that everyone knows that you can use to drop into a deep state of intimacy and arousal that is healthy and feels good. What else admitted she uses form as a sex as a form of escape? That's not a revelation. That is literally not as a form of escape. That's not maybe quite the right word, but you can see how they're twisting this. Aubrey, your thoughts?
I thought the that first thing you said, like, okay, be a sex symbol, but don't, have too much sex, or but don't have sex. Figure that out. Good luck with
Right,
that. Right.
right. Mary Magdalene.
We're gonna use your sexuality and your body and your looks and every single thing about any Eros that you may possess to sell whatever the hell we want, while you figure out how to, be a sex symbol without going too far into actual sex, where then you would be, too in the judged category and not be like usable anymore as a sales tool, because you would have jumped into a different arena of women or something like that. So that, yes. And then the three women in it were really interesting to me, because all three of those women have had times in their careers where they were in like every publication in the tabloids in the wildest possible ways, and they're like the three of them specifically are among the top 10 most like controversial media, like went for
Oh
them,
yeah, cool
terrible
direction.
pictures,
Yeah.
drunk in cars, and like being fingered in public, and pussy falling out of their dress, like just like shaved her head because she like went crazy one day, kind of super party girl Lindsay Lohan, right? With just like so many pictures of her just drunk off her ass. And then Angelina, a little older than them, further back, making out with her brother at like the Academy Awards, like pulling reporters into pools, and like wearing Billy Bob's blood around her neck and getting his name tattooed on her arm. And like, oh man, their relationship was so hot, by the way. That to me was like peak Angelina. Like I was so in love with her during that time. I was like, I want to be you. She had so much Damon in her like Eros at that time. It's like progressively become so tamed. But
Well, she's now Aubrey. She's respectable now. She's a mother and an activist.
she's respectable now, and it
She's
took like 17 kids to tamp that down. um so just like those three women to me actually do have Eros. Like they actually have Eros. They have like an erotic force that is alive inside of them, and has been at times in their lives so alive inside of them that it was driving them and kind of dragging them around, and they were just like hitched to the tailgate of their own Eros being like, I don't know how to drive this thing at all. And and I think that these are the kinds of women that people get especially like fascinated by. I think they get fascinated by the ones who are willing to like aggressively do absolutely anything to keep it tamped down, because there's a violence to it. That's, to me, that's like Beyoncé is a great example of that. How she keeps it down, like locked down, while only letting out all of the the selling point parts, is violent to me. And so I think people get very fascinated with that because there's a violence to it. And
Oh,
then they
you
get
mean so? Wait, so
fascinated.
you mean violence in the way that she deals with herself?
Yeah.
Can you say,
Yeah.
I actually, I know, I kind of know what you're pointing to, but can you describe what, how does it, how should I view that? How do you see that in her?
With her, I pick her because it's like most obvious there to me because she is because of the lack of controversy most of the time, and the lack of
Mm.
her being in the tabloids for anything, and the lack of her ability to keep it all tamped down, when you're that fucking famous, and to like lock down, like there's a handful of time, there's like the elevator at the Met Gala where Solange like punched Jay-Z in the face and they all came out and it was a mess. And um there's these plays, but that was like Solange losing control, her sister, not her.
Right.
Whatever she punched him for probably had to do with her, but she kept it together and her sister didn't. And so she always keeps it together. I have literally never seen a single photo or
I
video
see.
or interview or anything where that woman did not have it together.
She only does it theatrically, like in her music video, like the
Yeah, it's
sledgehammer and the thing.
completely a
It's
performance.
all performative.
It's all performance.
Wow,
All of
that's
it.
really interesting.
And
So
Lemonade, it's funny because Lemonade is, I think, like her best album was amazing. I actually love it, but I also, the entire thing is just like a, total hateful takedown of her husband cheating on her, um, and a complete deep blaming of him for, destroying her by cheating on her. And, there's no like, that's not the erotic truth.
there's no involuntary in it.
Yeah, that's not the erotic truth. The erotic truth would have some ownership in it,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see
of
what you.
having like I don't know, I don't know, like I shut my sex down and so he went somewhere else. I don't know,
Right,
like these
right,
are
right,
these are common things with like cheating and stuff like that. Like there's a woman's side to these things as well.
right.
um that can be hard to see, and that album is just like full blame. It's really artful, beautifully done, but it's full blame. So anyway, she's an example of someone who, so I'm just saying, people get really fascinated with the women who can keep it down successfully because it's violent.
And so what you're saying is we would see more if she wasn't doing that.
Yeah,
We
like
would.
I don't actually think she has, I don't think she has Eros.
It's I see. I see. I see. So it's performative.
It's all performance, all of it. Because I don't think she has access to her Eros, like not really.
Well,
Um, and
yeah.
then these other women who can't keep it together. So they're either
Got
fascinated by
it.
the
I
ones
see.
who can
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
it all
yeah.
together no matter
Right.
what, because there's like a violence to it. And then there's a fascination with the ones who cannot, no matter what they do, keep it all together, and they're just spilling out all over the place. And you're like, ah. And it's like, it's fun to watch those, because it's kind of a
So
relief a little bit. And there's a jealousy too, because we all want to let go like that too. And
so tell me, okay, so then I this is really good because I've never thought of it like this before. You're kind of blowing my mind. So then for a woman who has no eros, what is or who isn't when you say has no eros is not in touch with has not opened the cork on something which she might not be able to control. Is that a good way of saying it or
yeah, like I know what it takes. I know what it costs, as a woman. Like I personally know what it costs to keep it together like that.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
okay, so that's the violence.
that's the violence. You
Great.
have to be violent with yourself.
Great.
You have to cut yourself off strictly and aggressively with like a parental, I would say almost like abusive tone.
Uh-huh.
You
Uh-huh.
have to be like, shut the fuck up and keep it down no
Uh-huh.
matter what. And you have to say that to yourself constantly anytime it
In a
would
million
rise
different ways.
in a million different ways.
At the level of
And
at the
I'm
level
dealing
of
with my
impulse.
life, like the way my life looks. Like, yeah, okay, my life is controversial, but I'm not fucking famous. Like, I don't know what degree you have to do that to keep that amount down, like that amount of sensation, you know?
Right. Genius. That's great. Great piece.
That was awesome. Okay, on to our third topic for today.
Yes.
I know. I was like, Aubrey, just give us the answer.
Yes, next question. No. Are you, am I, just,
I will
you
move,
want to
I will
introduce
move.
it, Leah?
Sure. Okay. So the question at hand is it women's fault men don't approach anymore? The collective moral guilt feminists attributed to all men for the most minor non-existent fractions, erasing the men's humanity while expecting allyship eventually wore the men thin. So this is, I'll summarize, but the women often have been complaining about men don't approach anymore, and there's no men out there, and what the heck happened to the good old days of men gallantry approaching? And it's actually that we've created a movement and a culture where men are afraid to express their sexual desire and that they are punished for it. So of course men are like, I don't want to get canceled. Um, so this is bringing light. I love this piece that you guys chose this piece because it brings light to this phenomenon that I'm personally frustrated by, and I'm also taking responsibility for. Um,
Simultaneously
yes.
holding the two realities.
Um, yes, 70% of women under the 25 and 77% of women aged 18 to 30 express a strong desire to be approached more often. Modern women are now paying the price for the resentment and fear that has befallen men
It's
as
fallen.
We
befallen.
need a hero.
So, let's talk about violence, like cutting off our sexuality, cutting off their sexuality and then no one's moving, no one's making any moves. And then we're just like, hello.
That statistic is crazy, that 45%.
Crazy.
I mean, that's
Crazy.
also like that's got a few influences such as, more things happening virtually, dating apps, online and stuff like that. Like more people meet on the internet than in person now, but still, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool things to talk about with this one, and I look forward to hearing Eli's take on it. But my one main thing with it is just like there's some, if there was one thing that women had to come to terms with and understand, realize, look in the eye, admit, in order for women to a friend of mine and I were talking right before this, and she was like, we were talking about masculine and feminine in sort of the world stage way. And I was like, yeah, but it's still such a masculine world and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, yeah, but the feminine took it hostage and then didn't turn on. And I was like, fuck, it's so rough. It's exactly the same as blasting it and turning it on and turning it on and turning it on to get a guy. And then once you get him and you lock him down, you turn it the fuck off. Close the gates because now you're whatever, married, or you feel secure in it or whatever, and you don't put that kind of effort in anymore because you got the thing you thought you would, whatever. Actually, I think that's in our next topic. But the thing that would have to shift for women to turn on, right? We have the world's attention. We have it by the balls. We've grabbed it. We're holding it by the balls. We are refusing to turn on. We are making our refusal to turn on sound like successful social justice. It's bullshit.
That's
And
good.
if we turned on, the thing we would have to actually admit is that our body, our limbic system, our being has profound influence on everyone around us right now, all the time, and right now. And it has profound influence on our immediate environment. It has collective influence on the world. It has influence on people who aren't in our immediate environment, who we're just connected to. We are running the show. We are running the show.
Mm.
And we have to come to terms with that. We cannot keep acting like we are not running the show. We are running the show. There's a whole series of things that you go through when you realize that, and you ultimately, if you actually go through them, if you do the feminine enlightenment things, you come to I'm sure there's more beyond where I can see, but you do come eventually to one where you have noblesse oblige, you have the obligation of nobility, you become a kinder person to men and to everyone around you, because you understand how massive and nuclear your power is. And so you use it well, and you become kinder, and you stop being a turned off bitch who's holding the world hostage. That's my main take on that one.
Very nice. That's awesome. I'm voting for you.
Yeah, you have any thoughts on this one?
I don't know that I do, Leah. I
I
mean,
know
that
that
was extremely
Aubrey.
thorough. I mean, I think you know, um men have we have our side to this, which is that we are risk averse and kind of like perfectionists, and uh we've forgotten as a gender the art of play. And so there's sort of this transactional uh mentality that men, I've taught God knows how many men's courses at this point, that, guys don't kind of understand that you sort of can learn how to access this other part of your brain. And then that actually happens to be the part that she's all in this way that Aubrey's saying, women running the show. That's the part that can tap into the showrunner in her, and then you can have a really fun experience of being in her show. And like there's actually very few things that are like more delightful than picking up a woman's, I don't want to just say cues, but like almost like it's actually, I don't know there's a great analogy that I'm almost on the top of here, but it's almost like in the way that like a gecko kind of changes colors to like get in, like to slide into the scene that it's in, and all of a sudden it's like really cool part of the scene. Like there's like an improv kind of fun way to like they say slide into women's DMs. You can slide into someone's reality in a really fun, skillful kind of way. And that's what like on some level, like that's the art, and that's the play of it, where like I read this great thing. I don't know if it was in one of these or if it was someone else, but I read this awesome little blog recently where this guy said, um, he's like, my whole life I've had no game. Like no game. Like I've never been able to like talk to women. Like I just have no idea what I'm doing. And he's like in his, 40s or 50s. And he said, I went to a restaurant and I sat at this table, and this woman walked by me, and I thought she was the hostess. And so I just said like, hey, to her, like to her in the way that I would have, or like hello, in the way that like the energy I would use with someone who was fully expecting me to get their attention. And it turned out she didn't actually work there, but I was so confident and so not self-absorbed about success or failure or what I want or like any self aspect of it, that it was this funny kind of moment. She said she didn't work there. And then as she left, she dropped a number on the table. And he's like, and I'm 100% positive that that only happened because of the totally innocent, totally, spontaneous isn't quite the right word, but like he left himself behind. That's the key. He left himself behind. And something about the way that the alchemy of that moment happened, it hit something real. And it's so funny because we're so hung on like, well, you've got to be, authentic to exactly what it is and say what you mean all the time. And it's like, that's gonna put you in the adorably uh what's the word? Not stoic, but there's another word that's like sort of like adorably simple category. And which is not a bad thing, but it kind of it's in the same way that you can tell how much English a tourist speaks when they come up and ask you where the directions to the train station are. And you can tell that there's a conversation that you just cannot have with them beyond kind of pointing around the corner. That's kind of, I think, how it is for women.
I like that. Yeah. No, you're having me think of back 2 topics ago of all the things that men can do to help. There are a lot of things that men can do that inspire women to consider turning on, like we're
Yeah.
like, well, I wasn't thinking about it, but now I am, And I think the main one is like educate yourself on women's games and what you're being sold all the time by them in terms of like the fake thing that they're running, and the performance, what performance feels like versus the real thing, and
Right.
get educated around all that stuff. And then don't buy the fake thing. Don't buy it anymore, and have some play in how you call it out. That's hot as fuck. I have countless times men in my life have inspired me from a place of collapsed, fucking turned off, shut down, and played with me there in some way that didn't buy my bullshit. Into being like, well, you are reminding me that being turned on is perhaps more fun than what I'm doing. And then I
Right.
have to choose still. Like I still have to choose. They can't make me do it. They can't turn me on.
Right.
But you guys are amazing and totally can inspire a lady.
Well, and sometimes you just have to have it yourself. Like that's I think that's again so many lessons from improv, right? Like just have more fun. Just have your scene be the more fun scene, and then the other person's faced with a choice of do they want to win? Do they really want to win the argument of joining their not fun scene? And fun is like a placeholder word for like um uh not that there's something that could happen that would be more fun than what is happening, and at least one person is saying no to it. Like that's what I'm saying is not fun. And uh and this you can demonstrate this because I have a friend who I would go out to meals with, and she'd be like, nah, what do you want? Oh, I'm not hungry. I'd be like, okay, so I'd order my thing. And I turn my head and turn back, and three-quarters of my fries are gone.
This
And it's like, okay,
seems like a recent memory.
it's a fairly constant experience. But there is one friend in particular who I have this experience with, and it's sort of now it's like a funny thing that we talk about. But have the fries, have the burger of life, and see who steals some.
That's funny.
Great metaphor to finish that topic. We will go to our last topic. We have, which we'll do a short little digest on the humiliation before the ring, how men weaponize withholding. So I don't know if everyone's heard. Should I explain this? I can explain
No,
it.
no, no.
Oh,
We'll
no,
go
no.
into
Okay, great.
we'll dive right in. It's kind of a
Okay, great.
short, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Eli, why are you guys doing this to us?
Well, I mean, it's very simple, like um, there's a reason they call them carrots,
You're funny today.
and it's a big deal to be accepted as property, Aubrey.
It's a big, it's a,
It's a
it's a,
big deal to be
it's a
chosen.
coup.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal to be purchased. It's a big deal to finally have someone of higher value than you finally bestow upon you the validation so important that can really last a lifetime and is something which people should, aspire to on both sides, to be someone that's powerful enough to bestow value on a man who can bestow value on a woman with a nice big fat ring and a commitment, and a woman who can you know, be as attractive a potential as possible for someone who's looking to make a certain kind of acquisition. Over to you.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, I look at this picture. I mean, it's such a huge diamond. My God, this is really the actual, I think this was on Instagram or something, but this is them. This is the soccer football player, Cristiano Ronaldo, and his now fiance. And this is her giant rock of victory. And I believe they were together for 16 years before this proposal happened. And they have a child together, have lived together, and really had a whole life together for quite a long time before she finally was victorious.
Here's my question though, Aubrey, which
Mm-hmm.
is here, Leah, pull that back up. Which is like, whose take is this? Like, whose is this? Because I've had aspects of relationships I've been in ridiculously mischaracterized on social media. And, you know, I just kind of question whether or not this is actually how they feel. Like, certainly this is the narrative that is pushed, and like you can create that kind of narrative. But you have to remember, these are also Europeans. These are not, these are people who uh, don't necessarily have the fairy tale American romance mentality. People I think he's Portuguese, like at least the Italians, they'll go their entire lives with kids and like living together and never get married, and there's some wisdom to that. And so I almost wonder like what's really going on. It makes me wonder what's going on behind the story, and who does this benefit to tell this story about them, And so I just wanted to put that out there, and you know,
I like that. No, I really like that. Yeah, because and the thing that came up in my thoughts, because we don't know. The truth is we don't know,
no,
right?
no,
We
we
have
don't
no
know.
idea actually like the ins and outs and intricacies of their relationship together and the game of relating that they play together. And when I say
Right.
game, I don't mean to sound diminishing. I mean like whatever their like play is together. But what came up when you were speaking was I thought, oh, like it's kind of like it's kind of hot. It's a little bit hot, like not even the winning. The winning feels like the climax that now leads to potentially, but maybe not, like maybe it took 16 years, so maybe she'll stay on her toes.
Yeah, right. Well, that's
But
right. And it's like if you wanted to make sure you're like, okay, you're not gonna die in this marriage, right? Like, okay, well, let's not
yeah,
let's not do it like that. I like that. I like that.
kind of hot,
Right,
like
right,
kind of could be hot. And it, and
right.
and I don't know, we don't know how they experience it, so I
We
can't
don't
say,
know.
and I don't mean to speak for them,
We don't
but
know.
like a lot of times, if you okay, so if you are a man and you're playing with a woman and you're really in it with her, you're kind of the some of the most skillful players learn how to really play with a woman's anticipation. You could
Right?
reframe this entire article as
Totally.
like man
Totally.
successfully played with the
Totally.
energy of anticipation with a woman for 16 years.
They stretched it out. They got
Like,
they got and they got all the way to
you
the
know? Yeah. Yeah. And then
totally.
maybe it was like, and maybe it transitioned because there's that I've had
Yeah,
this in sexual experiences where there's initially, you're kind of always playing with the energy of climax in some way.
totally.
Are you going to, are you not going to, when are you going to, sooner or later, or now or later,
Right,
or
right.
whatever. It's always you're playing with, that's the anticipation energy. And there's those moments though sometimes where it feels like you're kind of moving to the edge of it, and then you're in the edge of it, and then it either happens or it doesn't. The experience peaks or there's climax or whatever, but there's another place that opens occasionally, that like where to me, that's how I know how to describe it. The climax impulse like opens up in a different way completely, and you're still working with a huge amount of anticipation energy, but you are no longer it's no longer concentrated at the very edge in a way that's actually kind of uncomfortable and anxious.
Mm.
It's like it opens up and you're sort of inside of it, and it's more of a relaxed place, but still with that heightened like energy. And I wonder if, it's like maybe if you play with it that long for 16 years, maybe it's not a climax into marriage finally, and then they just kind of die in the marriage and have to get divorced later or whatever. Maybe it's like maybe they're walking through something and it's opening into a different, it could be.
I like this. I like this much better. I like this narrative. I like this narrative a lot better. I like your man successfully keeps woman on edge for many years at once. Because that's honestly like that's also how like that's also kind of a spiritual principle, of like if someone's actually wanting to, find liberation somewhere, you've got to be playing at 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 a kind of edge of it, and to really be able to circumambulate all of that sort of instability with your mind without collapsing into something. And I think that's, I mean, and to keep that open, I mean, God knows we have no idea what the relationship is like at all. But you kind of wonder, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, where it's like, huh, where everyone's sort of trashing them. I'm like, no, actually, that's 16 years is an actually crazy long time to even be in a relationship with another person, let alone to get engaged after 15 years and double, double your money or however you want to say it. But like, yeah, I like that a lot better. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and she get, like we're at our best when we're challenged in that way. Like if you just give it all and you're just and collapse that energy, you don't get the best of a woman. You
Yeah.
just don't.
Yeah. Really nice.
Wow, that was a beautiful interpretation of that. That I breathed a lot more and felt really inspired from that. So thank you. Thank you, Aubrey and Eli. Let's see.
Thank you, Leah.
Yeah, thank you,
Oh,
Leah.
it's only my pleasure. Okay, so thank you guys. That was brilliant. If anyone has any topics that you know of that you would like to hear Eli and Aubrey talk about, you can comment below. You can also send us a direct message on Instagram at our Instagram at Eros Platform. So you can always DM us, slide into our DMs, as they say.
Slide on in.
That you find. Yep. So we talked about a lot of things today. We usually talk about a lot of things. We talked about cancer. We talked about sexual appetite. We talked about being a Hollywood woman with a lot of eyes on you who is also a sexual woman. We talked about men not approaching women, and then men withholding, supposedly withholding. So what do all these various topics have in common? There is an erotic take on all of these things.
All right.
So I want to make sure that everyone who enjoyed this hour of erotic philosophy, today has a way to get more of it if you want to, because the world is full of normal takes. Every now and then you get something helpful, but for the most part, you're dealing and playing in the world of appearances. And this is the reason we created the Eros platform. For $11 a month, you can get a basic membership and start turning your life on right now and start to see what's beneath the world of appearances and what are the erotic truths? What are the erotic takes on your life? You could even start and be a member this Saturday, because this Saturday is a live Intro to Om class for all Eros platform members. And I highly recommend that. So to sign up for a membership, go to erosplatform.com/slash memberships. Thank you so much for joining the Eros Revolution podcast today. We hope you join us next time. Every Monday and Thursday, we have this podcast. And again, if you have any hot topics you want that Eros perspective on, please leave a comment below or DM us. And we will see you on Tuesday. Thanks again, Aubrey and Eli. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Monday.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Monday. Monday and Thursday. My
Yep.
apologies. Monday and Thursday. See y'all on Monday.